Hey everyone, my name is Justin Rangel, U.S. Air Force retired. The podcast lamp is lighted on the 04 level aft.
Hey everybody, my name is Jonathan Lunsford, and you're listening to the 04 Level Aft podcast.
What's up, everybody? Jay here. Glad you're listening with us today.
Yes,
have a really cool guest.
Right,
really cool guest.
And it's a guy that that we were on the ship with, and it's one of them friends that was super duper important to me. And he said we only did like a year and a half together on the ship, but it felt like I was on the ship with him for like 10 years. It
felt a lot longer than that.
Yeah.
Yep.
When he told me he left, I was like, what? That ain't right. That don't matter. But
the math didn't add up to me either, but hey, I don't know.
Well, as you saw in the title, we have Chris Dale. Chris Dale was an EW on the ship through the 2000 deployment. Went with him. We kind of lost touch, got back together. And a couple years ago, we kind of got back in. And when we started the podcast, he's for sure on my short list of people to have on. So I'm excited about getting him on today. We had a delay. There was an issue. I'll try to do my best in the edit. But there was a lagging issue between his computer and ours. And so we'll work that hopefully. So bear with us on that part.
Yeah. This guy, I had a really good time talking to him.
Yeah.
There's an old saying that says, the only journey is the one within. And that really, I think about that whenever I think about Chris, man. Cause he was just one of those guys that always, needed to prove himself to other people, but actually really needed to find himself.
Right.
He was a man that turned his life around, and he's grown from his past experiences. He's just basically a success story, and it's really good to see where he's at right now. And I look up to him. He might be short, but I look up to him, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. So before we get into the episode, Jay and I have been really debating about the balance between doing live episodes and doing these type of episodes. And I'm kind of glad that today we went with this version, because with the delay, it would have made a live really difficult. So, what do you guys think? Do you guys, would y'all rather be in the lives where there's more interaction, or would you rather do us recording it and then editing it and putting it out for you to listen to? So let us know. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on YouTube. You can email us at 04levelaft@gmail, 04levelaft@gmail, and let us know what you think. Give us your input, and we will listen. If you guys want to hear one thing, we're not going to do the opposite. That's just silly. So
right.
So, okay, you ready? Let's get going.
And if you can, leave a review.
Yes. Oh, please do. You leave a review, it changes. It's amazing what one 5-star review can boost us in the people can find out who we are based off that. So please do, and share it with your military buddies.
Yes, please. The more the merrier.
Yeah. So
enjoy the episode, everyone. Chris Dale, how you been, bro?
Oh man, I've been good, Jay Beck. How about you?
Dude, I'm living life, man. I'm living life. Life is good, dude. Life is good. What has it been? 20 plus years? God.
Yeah. Dang. When'd you get out of the Navy, Chris?
Yeah, so I left in November 2000.
No.
So yes, that was when the majority of the khakis on the ship had kind of bonded together, and they're like, "Hey, Chris Dale, will you leave the ship in the Navy right now?" And I was like, "Hey, you know what? I'm actually okay with that."
Was it that early? It does not feel like it was that early. It feels like we were together so much more than that. So we're already recording, so But, so Chris,
that's how closely and tightly we bonded, though. And
man, dude, I remember.
I could probably count the friends I had on one hand. So, and two of you guys right here.
So the funny thing was, I don't remember meeting you. But I remember where we really bonded, obviously, was in combat, because you were at EW station, which is right next to MSS. And we spent, anytime I would walk in for my watch, and you were sitting there. It was like, yes. And then vice versa to see you coming in. But I remember so many times people would come in that they would look and see us both sitting there and go like, crap. Because this is going to be a stupid night because these two idiots are not going to shut up. And man, it was a blast. And I was thinking about, some of my favorite Chris stories and all that, and the good and the bad. And I was telling this story recently. I got a cell phone, and you got a cell phone, and we left the pier, and we're walking toward the exchange, and we were talking to each other on the cell phones while we were standing next to each other and walking, and we were talking to each other on both of us on phones, And Tony Zubia said, "What are you two idiots doing? Talking to each other on the phone while you're standing next to each other?"
Yeah.
And we're both like, "No, that's stupid. Why would we do that?"
No, but I mean, yeah, we are, because it's the first time ever we do something like this. How cool was that? And oh my gosh, how expensive were those plans? And like, talk about like stop texting me, okay?
Yeah.
Don't text me anymore for the rest of the month.
Yeah.
Insane.
Let me call you back after 9 so it doesn't cost me any money.
Yes.
And that was the kind.
Oh my gosh.
I'll call you back after 9. We can have a long conversation.
We can talk as much as we want then. No big deal.
Right.
Oh, and it would be pretty bad if they were in another time zone. Luckily, my family was in Arizona, but you guys were back east.
Well, it was actually really good for my family to call me because, they were after 9, but I was stuck. I was, stuck with all that, those extra, like daytime minute stuff. But it was kind of funny because, when I was a youth pastor in Georgia, we had a kid. This is like 2008-9 time frame, and we had this kid in the Sunday school or in the children in youth group. She came in and she was like, somebody said something about her phone. She goes, "Well, I got grounded from my phone. I'm not allowed to have my phone for like 2 months." I'm like, "Well, what happened?" And she had racked up like $10,000 in texting charges.
2 months is all she got?
No. Well, they that was a weird family, but they had they taught Verizon into cutting like 75% of that out. So the dad only had to pay like $2,500 in texting fees. And he said the worst part is that some of them texts were nothing more than a K and a W and a Y or a, like just initials. It wasn't even like, but it counted as a, but.
Wow.
I guess she was ahead of her time, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore.
Yeah. I know it's weird. I enjoy it, but nobody else wants to do it. So I always have to get people and do messengers and whatnot. So, well, Chris, man, it's just a blast to see you already. That's a pretty face I hadn't seen in a long time.
Well, I got to tell you guys, it's an absolute honor to be invited on here. I actually reached out to Chief Ragsdale over Facebook Messenger, and
good old Ken.
And I got to yes, yeah. First thing I told him was, "I'm still scared of you." Just so you know, but I also
you scary dude. Bro.
He was. Oh man, so intimidating, right?
Well, it's that mustache, dude.
Yeah,
he had this mustache. Tom Selleck mustache on steroids.
Yes, that was military might right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but to kind of get back to the story I was trying to tell earlier, is I was as big of a knucklehead as you could possibly imagine in the military. I made mistake after mistake and didn't seem to learn. But I did learn that each one of those mistakes has consequences. Anyways, I reached out to Chief Ragsdale, who obviously I'm still intimidated by, but and I got to send him kind of a nice little personalized message, and just apologize to him, and to and apologize to anybody that felt disrespected, that was trying to make the military a career, and or even people that were just trying to do their service and get out. And kind of a few other things, and said that I've been working really hard to turn my life around, and surprisingly, Chief actually apologized back to me too, and he said, sometimes being in the military kind of makes you a little bit more grumpy than you actually should be. So that was not, yeah, but it was really surprising, but really cool for me, and so yeah.
Chief Ragzell wasn't grumpy.
Oh, I thought everybody was
Well,
grumpy
not
except for me.
grumpy.
I just wanted to have a good time all the time.
Well, doing the correspondence with him, because he did the intro for one of the episodes, and I was talking to him, and the Lake Champlain, I believe, was his final tour, his final station. He left the Lake Champlain and retired. So that was like, and I do remember he said he joined in like the early part of 1978, and I was born at the end of 78. So we were like babies when he was a baby in the Navy. So he was seeing it a lot different than either of us was. So.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I couldn't imagine. I mean, being at the age that we're at now, you guys, I couldn't imagine being at one job for 20 years and just watching everything and the people change, and
right.
It's got to be a lot to take in.
Or the people or the whole concept is different now, and it's just crazy to think about. I'm looking through the cruise book. I'm trying to find your area, because I still have my cruise book from the 2000 deployment. And there was a guy that was in your work center. It was a black dude. I can't think of his name. That's what I was sitting here trying to think of. You know what I'm talking about?
Nope. For some reason, I can't remember his name either.
Well, give me a minute. Find it in a second.
He tried really hard and had a ton of patience with me. So
right. I remember.
Yeah.
Oh, do you remember?
Yep,
You
there was a
remember?
lot of
You
people
remember? What was the older EW's name? Hold on. Oh, I'll find it. Hold on. He was
Jay Compton. I remember that guy. First day he got on board, he looked at me. He's like, "Hey, I'm Jay Compton. 581 days, and I'm out of the military for 20 years." I was like, "Oh, wow, okay."
I'm talking about Charles Harbin. Charles Harbin was an EW1.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so he was sitting in an EW station one time. And so I was used to talking to you. And so I looked over and I said, "Hey," and he goes, "I don't really want to talk. I know you like to talk to Chris or to Dale, but I don't really talk to people." I'm like, "Okay, this is going to be a fun deployment." And so he finally opened up to me, and he was a drill sergeant at Fort Benning in the Army, left there and went straight to Navy boot camp. Like you're a drill sergeant in the Army, and they're going to make you go through Navy boot camp. That's the craziest thing ever. His name was Hill, by the way. Demetrius Hill was that guy's name.
So we went through. So we went through boot camp twice.
Yeah, he hated me so much because I did my hats like this. He's like, "Fix your hat. That's not the way hats are supposed to be. They're supposed to be flattened out a little bit." And when he retired, he goes, "Will you please fix your blankety blank hat?" I said, "Yes, I will." And I never put that roll in it again. I fixed it for him. So, but pretty cool. Like,
I bet he appreciated that.
He didn't even notice it. He was so happy to get out of the military. Like he 2 branches of service and he only made E6. It's like probably hated himself for that.
That's right. I remember that. Yeah, he was frustrated by that. Oh, gosh, that's got to be tough. I mean, I couldn't,
Coming on here, you're going to spark some memories, man. It's just you're going to have some memories spark up. And you'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I forgot all about that." Like, so.
Oh man, well, I'll tell you, John.
I just remembered.
Yeah,
I just remembered Loroff. I know we talked about that the other day, and I didn't remember. I just looked at his picture in the cruise book, and I remember him now.
Yeah, he was
crazy.
So you had a rough go with the Navy. You're one of the people. I remember when we reconnected, years ago. because of I had a really positive experience in the Navy, and I know you didn't necessarily as much. And you at the time, you basically denounced anything military except for the few friends that you had. Like you had treated it as a job that you wish you'd have never took. And so for me, in my mind, because I enjoyed it so much, it's hard for me to kind of wrap my mind around that, because it's so weird to think that somebody could not have. I understand that, though. I remember what you went through. I remember it seemed like you were being, if maybe like you said, you was a knucklehead, but there was some top down bitterness that was coming toward you, and it made your life miserable, which doesn't help, because then the next guy, it makes you worse, and then the next guy makes you worse, and then the next guy hates you more because that last guy made you worse. It's like compounding, and then you get out of the Navy, and then you hate the Navy. So it's kind of odd, but I understand. I was there. I watched it happen. I watched a lot of that stuff happen for you, and it sucked.
Yeah, I mean, pretty unfortunate, and there were several people that had reached out and tried to help, and but I don't think honestly anybody could have helped me, even if they had gotten through to me. I was pretty lost. I had no idea what to do with myself. I had earned a scholarship to swim at an NAIA school in Lake Forest, Illinois. It's called Lake Forest College. So because it's NAIA, I received half a grant for the tuition to swim there. I got there and I was just more interested in meeting girls and drinking beer. So, and I had a fun recruiting trip, and it was anything but about swimming and learning. And I made a terrible and poor choice based upon that. But I mean, I was trying to break out and find myself and came back, failed out of there, came back, went to Mesa Community College for a year, started off strong, and just, again, was not satisfied. I had something that inside of me that I needed to find. Spent a year doing that, failed out again because I just stopped going to classes. And I panicked and joined the military. Actually, pretty funny. I started talking to the recruiter. It took about a year for me to actually join. So I was going to join. I was like, nope, I'm going to go to community college. Semesters doing that, and started talking to him again after I failed out. And around November time, I was like, all right, I'm going to just sign. I was like, but I'm not leaving till January. He's like, sorry. If you're signing, you have to ship out next week. I was like, what? There's no possible way, because I'm pretty sure he could have shipped me out whenever, but I think he just wanted to help me get out the door so I wouldn't change my mind again. And
quota.
Yep. So I went to
gotta meet their quota.
Signed up I actually tested with the ASVAB, and they wanted me in the nuclear program. However, I was a knucklehead before I joined the Navy too, so I had to get 9 waivers for the interaction with the law enforcement in Arizona to be able to join, and that's why I ended up being an EW. But I just wasn't really interested, and I didn't want to do it. And the only reason I had chosen the Navy over the other branches is because I knew that I might have a possible chance to go on deployment and see a few other countries, and which was one of the big goals. And it was just a bad experience for me from the start. And but I look back now, and I mean, I don't have anybody from high school that ever reaches out to me. I mean, I couldn't even remember the last time. Maybe Ryan Clemens, like 10 years ago, 14, 15 years ago, came over and had a beer. I went over to his house and had a beer, and we hung out a few times and still communicate once in a while. But I mean, we had started talking again, you and I, John, and brought Jay into it. And you had explained that you were actually in the military for 6 years. So you spent more time with people in the military than you did with high school. And
I spent more time on Lake Champlain than high school.
Yeah. Right. For a long time, I didn't celebrate Veterans Day or even claim to be a veteran or tell anybody about it because I was ashamed of my behavior and I was full of guilt for the way I had acted and the decisions that I made. And I'm sure people I hurt along the way. And it wasn't until after I had gotten married, I had met another vet that was not only in the David Waters was not only in the Navy, but he was in the Army as well too. So he got out of the Navy. I might have it backwards. He got out of one of the branches, got done, was like, I'm not done. I want to do it again, and joined another branch and did another 4 years. So,
That's crazy.
But I started talking to David, and he's like, no, it's okay. Like, you're a veteran. Like, it doesn't matter what happened. You should celebrate yourself and honor yourself and let people around you know. And yeah, pretty cool. Sorry, I'm on a pedestal right now. I don't mean to take all the time, but
that's what this is all about, man.
Okay, let me do it. I'll wrap up with this story, okay? This past Veterans Day, I actually went out and a few years ago, I finally got a copy of my DD-214 again. By the way, folks, boys and girls, anybody that's getting out, make 15, 20 copies, get to your closest people, a bunch for yourself so you don't ever lose it. But I finally got it on my driver's license and recognized as a veteran. And I went around during the day because I'm at the end of a sabbatical for working. And I went to In-N-Out and I went to Buffalo Wild Wings and got free food. I took my 8-year-old son with me, and he just thought it was the coolest thing. So I went and got my oil changed, and I paid $40 for it. I got a full synthetic, cool. And I had an SUV, so an extra quart. And I went to Sports Clips, and I got not just a haircut. They gave me the free MVP, so I got the massage and the hot towel on the face. Man, I love that. So yeah. But I'll tell you what, and that's all kind of nice, but it was really more about the people that I met that had an impact on me. Saw a guy on my way. I was standing in line at In-N-Out. He was on his way out, had the Navy boot camp sweatshirt on, right? Still pretty similar and hadn't changed much. Yeah, Smurfed, right? He's walking out and he's like, oh, sorry, but I was in 7 and I was going to try to do 20, but I couldn't. And I just got PTSD now. And you could just kind of see that he was still broken from whatever had happened to him during his time in the service. And then turned around and I met 2 other guys. And one was a Vietnam vet and another guy was an active service member in the Marines. And so I got to talking to him. I had this link that my wife had sent to me with all the stuff you could take advantage of on Veterans Day. So I shared it with them. But I was talking to the old Vietnam vet, and I was like, I didn't serve during wartime, so my service was not like yours. Thank you for your service. And he was just as emphatic as you could be. No, you did too. Thank you for your service. And you talk about 1,000-yard stare, right?
Yeah.
Talk about hard. The look in his eyes, and it just the emotion on this guy's face. You didn't even have to ask what happened or who he lost. You could see it. And oh man, God bless America and God bless our veterans.
Yeah. So I find that being that we were Navy, we didn't see hand-to-hand combat. And so it took me a long time to get to a point where I can have people say, thank you for your service. Cause I always felt like I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing. I'll just sit out in the ocean and didn't do a thing. But what we did is, and it was actually a Army guy who explained this to me, which is kind of funny. He said, when the Navy is sitting in the Persian Gulf, it keeps people calm. And so you being there, willing to do that, it kept things calmed down. If the Navy completely pulled out of the Persian Gulf and there was no ships there, we don't know what would happen. So we wind up being more of a police force in that concept of we're just being there. And the first rule of engagement was officer presence, and just us being there helped. And so just you even being there, you had a very important job, man, and you were really good at it. I remember watching you do it. You were really good at it. And and I hated that you didn't get to fulfill your time in. But I remember hearing you talk because I got this like beautiful accent, but you guys don't have it. And like, but you would get on the radio and you would like talk from ship to ship, and you'd be like it was so cool listening to you talk out that thing. And then one day I was like, hey, you should let me try that. And you're like, yeah. And so you're like giving me the list, and I was going to get to say it. I was going to get to push the pedal and say the words and all that. And somebody stopped and said, no, we're not letting that redneck talk on the radio. Like, not happening. And then I get to do it. So, but I remember, man, you were really good.
I remember that. Oh, man, I was so angry. Well, thanks, John. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, it's like, gosh, man, I had Scary Chief apologize to me, and you giving me a compliment about me doing my work there. I mean, apparently some people remember me being in the military different than I do.
You kept,
oh my gosh! Well, thank you so much.
Talk amongst yourselves for a second.
What do you got to go to the bathroom?
For sure,
dude. I mean,
check out one of his 17 kids.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I mean, I know you said that you were basically a knucklehead, called yourself a knucklehead. We all were, every single one of us on that ship was. We were 18 years old, 18, 19 years old. We were kids, we all did that. Yeah. Everybody was searching for something, it's just, maybe you search a little bit harder than everybody else, which is fine, bro. I wasn't an angel in the military. I was not. I just hit it real well. I don't think you should beat yourself up on that. Out of that, you became who you are now. You know what I mean? Out of all those rough times and bad times, you became who you are now. Which in front of me, I see a man, a husband, a father, and a very, very responsible person. And that's a success story to me. Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that, Jay. And, I mean, the fact that you guys want to reach out and, reestablish our friendship. And I mean, it's, I can't tell you how grateful I am for that and how much I appreciate you guys. And I mean, it's not just something that I'm keeping to myself. I'm sharing with my family. And, I was telling my aunt, like I'm doing a guest spot in my buddy's podcast tonight from the military. And I mean, she just thought that was the coolest thing, and I just, this is something that is healing a part of my past and I never thought I would have an opportunity to. So you guys, I've had a pretty amazing and epic story. I mean, from being vegetarian for 5 years and then vegan for a year to living in upstate New York on 80 acres of land to, living on the coast of San Diego for like another 6 years. And we'll skip over that part. But, and then, to meeting my wife.
Yeah.
To meeting my wife.
Did you live in? What part of New York did you live in?
I lived in, it was in Berkshire, New York, which was considered the poorest county in the state of New York. It was so remote they wouldn't have garbage collectors come out, so they would just pile everything and burn it.
Yeah, I was just about to say you probably burned. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to. Oh, in Syracuse, yeah. I had an opportunity to go out there and live on this farm, and I went and found an organic grocery store and grew my beard really long and grew my hair out and became a hippie for a little bit. But it was really, to me, it was one of the most fulfilling parts of my journey because for the first time in my life, I stopped listening to everybody else. And I just said, hey, Chris, what do you want to do? What do you want to be? And I started living my life with no expectations except for the ones that I placed upon myself.
Right.
So and then when I got tired of just being poor and paying the bills, and I got into sales, and it's been a pretty successful journey for me too, fellas.
What do you sell?
So I sell software as a service or IT infrastructure software. And in 2019, I created and closed Ascension Healthcare, which was a deal that was $4 million and for 3 years. Became the largest single deployment portfolio in all of SolarWinds history. And at the time, they were the largest ITOM provider in the world. So not only
Chris
did I find
trades,
but I climbed to the very top of that shit.
Yeah. Well, we had lost contact years ago, and then we got back together, and you lose contact back and forth all the time. And you were selling Lucas Oil stuff, and then I became like a Lucas Oil guy. Like everything in my car is Lucas now, because my buddy Chris is selling it, so I got to do that, and did that for a long time, and then I just switched back to whatever's cheap, because I started finding out that all that stuff in motor oil is all the same. They basically make it in the same factory.
Yeah, hey, that Lucas stuff. Well, yeah, yes and no. That Lucas stuff, the story as it goes, first invented this particular, and he called it LOP89. And he puts this particular additive, which is a secret formula, into every single one of his products. Now, if it's just that special product is a particular type of marketing, if that's what the recipe was, I don't really know, but I couldn't tell you. That might have been the case, but kind of yeah. So there's been kind of an interesting little story about that I heard recently, but I don't want to be spilling any industry secrets, so I'm gonna let that sleeping dog lie for right now.
That's awesome.
So, Chris, earlier you said when you were in the military, you seemed like you were searching for something. What do you think that was?
I mean, honestly, it was myself, like who am I? What do I want to do? What do I want to be? I came across the idea at, like 18 or 19. I'm like, well, my dad kind of built himself up from nothing. And I mean, his family wasn't poor, but they weren't well off or rich by any means. And he became extremely successful and a pretty awesome childhood growing up. And, I remember my mom crying poverty all the time, but I think it was just her determination to be frugal, if you will.
Yeah.
I
got to meet your mom and
kind
dad.
of thought that I could try and be like my dad. And you did.
Yeah.
You got to go on board the sailboat. We took it out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go underway with this on the sailboat, but I was thinking about this today while I was prepping. I met both of y'all's parents. I've met both y'all's parents, which is kind of cool. To be in California, and of course, Chris has lived in Phoenix at the time, and then yours was in New York, Jay. So it was really cool getting to meet them, and it was right after that 2000 deployment, and we went over to wherever the sailboats are as you coming in the San Diego Harbor, where all the sailboats and stuff is over there. And so I was like, oh man, I've never been here before. This is the craziest. Like, this is fancy stuff, It was pretty cool getting to meet them and talk to them and your sister. And I think it was that day that I realized that you were adopted. You kept that kind of hush hush. You didn't talk about it. And because I think your mom had made a comment and I was like, okay, I mean, it is what it is. And you had a great mom and dad. So it was pretty cool. Getting to meet them. And then of course later I got to meet Pop. I remember, just one time I met him on the smoke deck, which is even cooler. Jay's dad and his mom. It was kind of neat to do that. Yeah. So it's really cool to get to see, to know you guys and then get an insight to y'all's family outside of it. It's really cool. So like, I was really blessed to get to do that. My parents never came out there while I was in the Navy, so I never got to introduce them to nobody, but it's pretty cool to get to see them.
Well, my parents didn't know the extent to the amount of trouble I actually got in when I was enlisted. So, they knew I was being a knucklehead, and but it was actually really cool to be like, look, I actually have a friend, and like my buddy John really likes me, and like we're pretty tight. Like I really like him, and so yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I was grateful for it too, and I got great parents. They're phenomenal. I mean, me and my family, we had to look like just what do you call it? The odd group, if you will. But both my parents were like 5'11" and a half. And then me and my sister are both 5'5". And then we just recently found out my sister's half black, so hence the dark skin. So then but it was always kind of funny. I always thought my dad always seemed to get really, really tan during the summer too, and it's almost kind of like he did that on purpose. And
right.
Yeah. But my dad he does clever, sneaky little stuff like that and never tells anybody. So, but I got to tell you a story, you guys, if you want, real quick. And, being adopted and finding my wife and getting married and having an instant family, I instantly became a dad to a 7-year-old girl and a 9-year-old boy. And I was like, dude, I have got this, like I'm adopted. My parents are awesome. Like it's going to be piece of cake. Right. Like, and I love the kids. Like, it was funny. We went out to dinner one time and my dad took the seat next to my future wife. And he was like, no, go sit by the kids. And I was like, all right, man, whatever, So I went and hung out with the kids and we were talking all cartoons, Powerpuff Girls, right? We were talking like, I was just Invader Zim, just naming off all the classic cartoons. And they knew every single one of them. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, how do you know the cartoons from my childhood? I was like so impressed. And, it was the moment when Dylan was like, are you going to be our new dad? That I was like, oh my gosh, of course I have to marry this woman and I've got to be a part of their lives. And, little did I know that Dylan was like probably saying that to all the boyfriends Ashley was dating during her, during her time that she was divorced. But
right. Yeah.
But, I fell for it and so when you become a parent, your natural instinct is to parent the same way your parents did, right? I mean, it's pretty easy stuff. And then I thought that, well, hey, I'm adopted, so I'm going to have a different perspective and understand more. And I mean, it didn't mean a thing, you guys. Oh my gosh, it didn't do any good for me except for the unconditional love that my parents showed me.
Yeah.
So what I had to do is I had to kind of dig in, and we got between Ashley had a couple, and we had about 6 different books between step coupling and step parenting, and kind of really dug into that. And then 3 years in a row, we took
that could be really tough.
It could be unbelievably challenging. Yeah. Mm-hmm. We took courses in person 3 years in a row to like learn and understand. And we went to counseling and therapy, and I saw them individually, and Dylan went and saw them, and then we went and saw them together. And I mean, it wasn't easy, but I put in an incredible amount of work because those kids are absolutely deserving, and they are mine. I married Ashley with my dad pulled me aside and said, Chris, when you're going to be dating this woman, I need you to make sure you think about that, the fact you're not just dating her, but you're going to be dating her kids, right? You're setting intention out to marry her if you continue to date her and to be a part of their lives and be a stepfather. And I was like, it took me a while because I very much doubted myself if I would be a good enough person to be able to do it. And before Ashley and I married, I sat down and told her about everything and said, this is who I am. So if you don't want it, it's okay. You can walk away. And but it was my sister and my dad that had suggested that they use my mom's original engagement diamond that my dad proposed to my mom with all those years ago. And then my sister said, if you ever get divorced, I'm keeping her and getting rid of you.
That's awesome.
Pretty good stuff,
I've
right?
heard that before too.
Yeah, I was like, I agree. I was like, it's okay with me. I understand.
I'm pretty sure my mom loves my wife more than me. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I never talked to my mom. She and Christine will be like, your mom said this and this. I'm like you talk to my mom more than I do. So that's okay. They're two very important women in my life, and they get along.
My wife and my kids never got to meet my mom.
Oh man, it sucked. I remember when she passed.
Yeah, it was pretty.
So, Chris, how many kids do you have?
So now I have 3 kids. Dylan Dean is 23 and just completed 4 years in the United States Marine Corps. Victoria Chase is 20 years old. She just finished her 3rd season as a forest ranger, her first season leading the team, and was hired on year-round, but is afraid that her job might get cut with the incoming party for the presidency. And I'm not going to say anything else about politics. And then we've got Riker Malachi, which is a child that Ashley and I made together. And he is the spitting image of me, which is something I always wanted.
Oh, good Lord, I pray for you
the
right
very
now.
first. Oh God, he is gonna terrorize the world, you guys.
I'm gonna pray for him right now. Lord Jesus, I come to you right now and just ask you to have your hand on Chris.
Yeah, right. And you're paying for.
Baby Jesus.
They always say you pay for your raising, and I think that if we ain't careful, we pay for our spouse's raising. So hopefully that ain't the situation here. So.
I mean, a lot of people don't understand what a blessing fatherhood is. They truly don't understand what a blessing fatherhood is. I mean, my father passed away 18 years ago, and I had my first son 17 years ago. So he just missed my son by a year. And there's not a day that goes by that I don't say, I really wish Dad was here so I can ask him what I need to do with this situation. Because I don't care how old you get, a son always wants to be like his father. Always.
Yep.
So when those 2 sons that you have, man, it's just such it's a blessing to see you as the father that you are. Because a lot of guys nowadays, they won't take on the responsibility. They won't. They'll say, okay, I'm just gonna father a child and then leave. You know? I want to commend you and say, hey,
I used to say,
Bravo Zulu, bro. You know what I mean?
Bro.
Hey, I appreciate that, but honestly, I got to tell you, the kid's dad is one of the smartest people I've ever met in the world.
I know. I'm talking
he
to
did
him
get
right
someone
now.
else to not only raise his kids but also pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, but I joke and I kid, but when my dad had that conversation with me, I've never taken anything more serious in my life. And it was my number one mission to just be someone that was going to be there. My wife stopped working about 6 months after we met, and she has hustled her entire marriage, sometimes working 3 or 4 jobs.
Yeah.
But for a majority of it, she, really just worked part-time or, and not full-time, because kids didn't need me. That's who they need, is their mom. And we made a lot of sacrifices together between Ashley and I, and and we missed a lot that we probably could have had if she worked as well. But it's what those kids needed time and behind our back, and we didn't know it. So, but it didn't get as out of control or as bad as it could have.
Right.
So, and it was because that she was
It's getting delayed again.
That lag again. I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah, that's fine. I thought you lived in a giant city. Anyway, it being a dad is a great thing. I got 2 kids in college, and Peyton just turned 20 the day before yesterday. And man, it's just like, it's a great feeling. Watching them grow and knowing that you did something there, and hopefully you did the right thing sometimes. And we all, you talked about doubting it. It's just what we do. We worry about it. We worry that we can make it enough money for them. We worry that we're teaching them the right things, or are we so focused on making enough money for them that we forget to love on them, or are we, is the balance in our heads as dads is crazy. Like, you have to be so careful, because one you put too much emphasis in the wrong spot, it changes how their world is, either financially or emotionally or whatever. So it's hard. It's hard. And you have to, and I don't know how I couldn't have done it without Christina. I had to have her. We balance each other out. We've known each other since 98. We've been married for 24 years, and it's just
God bless her.
Right. So, but it's pretty cool. I'm excited to
Bless
be
her for sure.
Killing me. So, and if Norm's listening, he's already probably screaming at us to stop being so mushy. So, you guys are being too mushy. Ew.
Grab your crayons.
So I want to tell you. I want to tell us a story.
No, I mean, it's something. I know you want to tell a story, but it's just something that needs to be said. I mean, the best thing a man can do for his children, not only their sons, but also their sons and daughters, is to be a good example, because that's the key. To be an example, because 10% of what you do is verbal. What they hear the other 90% is they just observe. They observe you. Everything that you do, they just watch you. It's the best thing. I mean, it's just true that a daughter usually looks for a man that resembles her father. It's the truth. Studies have been made.
Yeah.
So
very, very true.
And every son wants to be his dad, like you just said, Chris. What you just said. Maybe I wanted to do for a living what my dad did. And I did too. I wanted to be a letter carrier. My father carried a postal bag for 25 years, but that's what I think. Norm, I'm still being mushy. It's an example. We need to be examples. Right. That's all.
Yeah, we're grown now.
Okay. I'm sorry. Tell your story, John.
You're right. You're 100% right. 100% right. So I was thinking about, again, we talked about earlier, Chris dealt with some trouble. And so one time, I do not remember where this was. May have been, I don't think it was Australia, but it may have been. Chris had to be back on the ship by midnight. And I got tasked, like I was walking off the pier. Was it Hong Kong? No, it wasn't Hong Kong, because I remember it being a pier. I remember walking down the pier. And we got to the pier, or we got to the quarterdeck, and it was like 10 minutes till midnight. And we were standing there. We went up and had a cigarette on the 04 level aft, and then we were trying to figure out, when can you leave? Because if you had to be back at midnight, when can you leave? So we went down to the quarterdeck to say, when can he leave? Does he leave at 6? Does he leave at 7? When does he have to be here for quarters, or what's got to happen? And or for muster, excuse me. I was thinking about quarters. When does he have to be here? And the guy on the quarterdeck, the officer deck, said he can leave now. He was here by midnight. Do you remember that? Because we should not have left, because that between that time and the sun coming up, we got in a lot of trouble. And they're like, you were supposed to be back at midnight. And he goes, I was back at midnight. I was back at midnight, but we turned around and left because the officer deck said we could leave. So we left, I thought that was a very nifty around the rule. Like we snuck around the rule a little bit and had I remember running down the pier going, let's run before they change their mind. We got to go. Like, that's what I was thinking. It was Australia.
I got to tell you, John, this is probably one of the things that I was most looking forward to is all of the stories that I don't remember.
Oh, man.
I do remember Korea and getting off the ship, right, and walking down the pier, and there was a little food cart, right? Looked like those almost like those little New York hot dog food carts that you see on the side, and they had they were selling chicken on a stick. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And there was a logo of a big
was it chicken?
Chicken.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a cat in a chicken suit.
Yeah. Because remember, we're like,
and we always thought that was the funniest.
We held the stick and we looked at the lady and said, "Is this a cat?" And she's like, rah, 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 rah. Like, "Is this cat?" And she's like, "Is it?" Rah, rah. And she's like, "Oh yeah." Rah, rah. Like, and so we were so drunk we ate it anyway. It was so cold. I cannot begin to describe how cold it was there. So like.
Yeah, it was freezing.
That was crazy. You said in the text thread the other day that you didn't get to get out in Thailand. Were you on restriction?
Yeah.
It's probably a good thing.
Because of Hong Kong.
Oh, yeah.
Probably was. I also said in that text thread that if I had gotten out in Thailand, I probably would still be there to this day.
Yeah.
If I was alive.
Yeah. Your body might be, yeah. That was crazy. Brian Jones and me, they said no parasailing. You know, it was off limits, no parasailing. And Brian Jones.
What's the first thing he did? Went to parasailing. Brian
Jones wanted to go parasailing. I'm like, okay, let's go. I've never done that before. So he gets up, he goes on his tour, he comes back, and then it's my turn. So I go, and the way they did it there was a little bitty Thai guy that stood on your shoulders and pulled the chute so you go around. And all of a sudden he goes, I see them flagging from the boat. They're like, la, la, la. You know, you can hear them barely hollering and or you could barely hear them hollering. And the guy said, "Hey, hold on. And the boat stopped and it started going down. And I'm like, I'm not supposed to be doing this. This is off limits. And we hit the water and I undid from the harness, and there was always I read or I heard, I should say, years ago before that people, you get underneath a parachute in the water and it acts like an anchor and you can drown. And so my whole idea was getting out from underneath that parachute. So I immediately, as soon as I hit the water, I unbuckled the harness and I swam down and over as fast as I could. And when I come up out of the water, I was far enough away from the boat that when I looked over at the boat, they were all like screaming and hollering and like, and they one of them looked and they're like, oh, like they pointed at me and they're like, wow, he didn't drown in the water. And I'm like, yeah, you know, thank God I didn't drown in the water. And then we got back to the shore and he goes, "You want to go again?" I said, "Yeah, let's go." You know, like, what's the chances that happened twice? And it was a good time. So that was a fun trip. You know, I hate that you didn't get to go, but we got to hang out in Australia, Bahrain. We got to hang out in different places, and it's cool. I remember you in Australia. I'm talking too much. I'm sorry. I tell this story all the time. We were in Australia, and it was me, you, and a bunch of other people. But we walked up to a yield sign, and the yield sign said "Give way," and we're all like, "Why? That's so stupid! These stupid Australians! Why don't you just write yield on there, stupid? Why put give way? It's the same triangle, same color and everything." And so we go to this bar and we're all like laughing, the idiots, give way. And somebody from the ship goes, "Well, how would you define the word yield?" And we're looking at each other like, give way. But
that sounds exactly like us.
Yeah. It's pretty funny.
That's pretty good.
It's funny that
I've got a story that I remember. Yeah, you remember the guy Robert McCavanagh?
Yeah, oh yeah, I still deal with him on Facebook. He's a CT. Yeah, he's going to listen to this,
right? Crypto technician.
Yeah, he. Well, I actually texted him today.
Yeah, I messaged him actually when I found Robert on your friends list or something, or he had reacted to one of your posts, and I reached out to Robert. I remember him telling me runtime. He was like, Chris, man, you gotta check it out. I have got a photo book of all of my belly button lint. It's a collection I have. I put a tape on it, scotch tape. I've got whole pages of it. And I here I am, just like the thoughts. It's just like a thought bubble coming up, and I just picturing the, all the, and I'm like, I kind of actually want to see it, even though that's gross. But like, does he really have this? Is this? No. Anyways, I tell this story because they would give us the port briefings, right? And they're like, you can go here and don't go here, and we thought it was really odd on there that you couldn't go to the barbershops in South Korea. Do you remember that?
No. I understand why, but I don't remember that.
He was in my row, in my berthing, McCavanagh, and I was talking to him. He's like, "Oh yeah, man." He's like, "I went to the barbershop." The guy is like bald as right,
oh yeah,
shaved head. But he's like, "Yeah, I went to the barbershop," and I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, like, what happened in there?" And he was like, "Yeah, the owner tried to sell me his daughter," and I was like, "What?" But this is the man with the belly button lint photograph, right? So, like, was that really true or not? So, I take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah,
Robert, man, you get like that stuck with me. That has stuck with me my whole life, and I know you're over there, just like you're dying, laughing, and absolutely celebrating yourself right now, as you should, sir.
Did you actually ask how much?
Mushy.
Yeah, right.
Did he ask how much she was? That's horrible. That's absolutely terrible.
I know.
I'm going to pray for him.
Yeah, on our second on our second deployment
year, I believe that was. Yeah, go ahead, John.
What was the? Well, real quick back to Korea. It was so funny because if you remember, it wasn't just cold in Korea. It was cold on the way to Korea. It was cold doing that last underway replenishment in the ocean and we weren't getting sea spray. We were getting sea pelted with ice because it was that cold. And then I was like, man, salt water is harder to freeze than fresh water. And the fact that it's freezing before it hits us, that means it's really cold out here, this is really crazy. But we pull into Korea and Chinhae. Yeah, Chinhae is where we pulled in. And we bust over to Busan, and we were so cold. We were walking down the street, and they opened up a door, and there's like a car dealership. They're like, come in. We're like, well, we can't buy a car. And we come in, and the one lady said, hey, y'all got to warm up. It's just way too cold out there. And we're like, yeah, you ain't kidding. And I had been craving tangerines for whatever reason. I love tangerines. It's my favorite. And I wanted tangerines, but it's the middle of the winter time. We're in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. There's no tangerines anywhere. We walked into that dealership and she said, here, have a tangerine, and like handed me a bowl. And there's like a bunch of and I ate 5 and I put a bunch of them in my pocket. And it was just like, how crazy is it that here I am craving tangerines in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? The first port we pull into is there's tangerines there in Korea in the wintertime, which is nuts. And then we all got sick because 3 weeks later we're in Thailand and it's so stinking hot that we can't even we go from -15, -20 to 100, within a month. It was just crazy. All of us were sick. I don't know if y'all remember that.
I remember how cold it was. It was absolutely freezing.
That was cold.
No, you know what I remember about Thailand? I remember there was a particular serviceman, a sailor, enlisted guy that was on our ship. And before we got to Thailand, he looked just absolutely normal, right? But by the time everybody got back on board, man, that guy had boils and shit on his face. Oh, dude, he found the wrong woman to hook up there. Oh, good Lord. It was like an explosion of herpes all over his face. It was hysterical.
Chris, that's the gift that keeps on giving all year round.
Oh, our second.
Yes, sir.
Hey, on our second deployment, there was a guy on the ship that saved his virginity for a Thai prostitute.
Well,
He did.
maybe
He
it was a
did.
lifelong
He said-
dream. I don't know. But you have to be careful with those kind of people. You know, they could be something else, if you know what I mean.
And not even know it. That was pretty crazy. Like,
Is that
Hey,
an
you
Adam's
could lose-
apple? No,
You could
no,
lose
no.
virginity. You could lose 2 virginities at once and not even know it.
Oh, yeah. Now it's a party.
Oh God. Oh, I need some more bourbon.
so let me tell a story. So I had a lot of really great experiences at the Coors Amphitheater, a lot, and you two took me to those individually, not together. I was introduced to a band called Fish. Jay took me to Fish, and it was amazing. It was awesome. It was crazy. There was drugs everywhere. So me and Chris,
It was the greatest time. There's drugs everywhere.
God's honest truth, we did not intentionally inhale anything. We had to breathe because you'd die. So I don't know if I inhaled something, but anyway. I
was inhaling everything.
I was really hungry after the
So
concert.
me and Chris go to see the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Stone Temple Pilots, same Coors Amphitheater. That was a fantastic concert. Do you want to tell that story? Because I'll let you tell it, because I tell it all the time. So you go ahead and have it. Do you remember?
I'm wondering if you tell it the same way that I do, but like we saw Red Hot Chili Peppers and Stone Temple Pilots, and it was just like, oh my gosh, together these bands are so epic, and they were 2 of my favorite bands, and I'd listened to for years and really influential on me, and then I went and saw Fish for the first time in person, and John, you were the first person to take me to a Fish concert, but I have been listening to Fish since college.
So the second time I saw Fish was
but when I got, yeah.
Okay. I didn't remember that. So the Chili Peppers.
So it must have been that way, right?
No. So the Chili Peppers concert, we were sitting in the car, and some guy comes up and he has this little Ziploc bag and he says, "Do you want to buy some shrooms?" And we're like, "No," because we're in the military. And he drives off.
No, we're in the military.
And so he walks off. And then Chris goes, they can't test for shrooms. I'm like, really? Like, they can't. And I was like, this is going to be interesting. Okay, cool. I've never done anything other than drinking underage. That's all I've ever done. I've never done drugs, never smoked pot, never messed with any of it. And so he comes back around and we're like, how much for a bag? And he's like, $20. And so we gave him $20. And then I'm like, hey, I'm yielding. I'm giving way to Chris, right? You know how much of this is good. Hand me what you think is a good amount, and you eat it. What's a good amount? I put it in my mouth, chewed on it. It was dry. It was nasty. He goes, that's normal. And so we drank some water. And we go into the concert.
It's normal.
We're sitting in the grass or whatever. We're watching it. And I looked at him. I said, how long does this take? And he goes, man, the first thing is you start looking at the lights, and as you move, you'll see tracers and blah, 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 blah. I remember this so well. And then like 20 minutes later, I said, should we eat some more? And he goes, yeah, let's try that, And this is when I tell the story, when I get to that point, everybody goes, oh, never eat it again. So we ate them some more, and we wound up eating the whole bag, right? And then, so, I mean, Chili Peppers is on stage, man. And it wasn't just Chili Peppers, but they all had mohawks, and Scott's out there singing with them. And I look over, and Chris is like, he's mad. I'm like, what are you so mad about? And he goes, those must have been like portobello mushrooms, man. We got scammed. So
basically you bought a bag of oregano.
So that was my illegal drug story. That's the only time I ever did anything like that. And I love that. I love that you were there.
I mean, they could have been just like dried mushrooms at weird.
Yeah, from the store, and he just made a bunch of money on it.
I mean, either that or, now with my experience and wisdom, I could say that they might have actually been magic mushrooms, but he had them too long. And if you have them for too long, they lose potency. Because I remember they did taste like it, but like I was like, how the hell do you like?
No, you guys got had. They were portobellos.
Probably.
You guys got screwed. Guys saw a couple sailors and was like, watch this.
Yeah, these guys are suckers for sure. Yeah, we thought we were
it's like going out to Tijuana with those chiclets.
Like,
oh my God.
We're in the military, sir. We do not do drugs.
So I turned 21 on December 29th, 1999. And Christopher Dale took me out drinking. And while we were sitting in a restaurant, some homeless street guy, whatever, walked up to us. And he's like, oh, what are y'all celebrating? And you said, it's John's 21st birthday. And that man took a piece of copper and he made this.
Are you kidding me?
John 21.
Dude.
And I have kept this. And
of course you still.
And this is a treasured thing for me because you paid for it. I don't remember how much you paid for it.
You guys were nice to each other.
Yeah, well, yeah. We were nice to each other too, Jay. Well, I don't remember being mean to you.
I turned 21 in Thailand. Okay.
No.
Do you know what I got?
You're older than me. You can't have turned.
Yeah, I turned 21 in Thailand, brother.
You born in 78 or 70?
Yep.
Okay, my bad. I thought you were older than me.
Well, maybe I had a birthday in Thailand. I
thought you were older than me. So anyway.
Do you know what I got for my birthday?
Alcohol poisoning?
I got a beat down so bad.
Yes. Oh, I got what you're saying.
I got my butt kicked. Do you guys remember Louis Matos?
Oh, shit. Are you serious?
Zurcher, Val, Norm.
It sounds familiar.
All those guys beat the crap out of me.
They're all muscle guys.
What?
Brian Jenkins, Matt Nossi.
Why?
They broke down the door and they just started jumping, pounding on me.
Oh, yeah. Like, you remember like pink bellies on your birthday and all that kind of stuff?
Birthday beatdown. You got sculpture. I got a knuckle sandwich.
Hey, it's a piece of copper.
Not fair.
John, what else did you get besides the sculpture?
Oh, no.
Do you remember where we went?
I got drunk. I got really bad drunk. And
Christina, earmuffs.
Say again? Oh, no.
Christina, earmuffs.
She's not. Oh, oh, no.
It's not that bad.
I can delete it.
Hooters.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, with the Hooters.
She got good.
She was on call, or she on call. She was on duty that day, so she didn't get to go with us. And I'm kind of glad because like we got to do like the normal stuff, and we went to this one bar, and it was like a jazz, like a. It was the last bar of the night, and it was like a crooner type. And so there was a guy that was singing like Frank Sinatra and stuff like that, and I was all in it, man. I was so in it. And he pushed me off. He said, hey, man, let me sing, man. Get off of me. And then that's when the bouncer took me outside, and that's when I threw up on the sidewalk.
Yes, my job has been done well.
But, well,
I just getting Sip Park. No, nobody wants to get sick.
I learned some valuable tricks after that about getting sick and how not to. Basically the hangover the next day, I figured out how to I don't remember who it was even. He taught me, he said, when you get back to the ship, he said, is sit still with eyes closed. If you feel the ship moving, walk over to the edge of the life rail and make yourself throw up and take some Tylenol and brush your teeth and go to bed, or some ibuprofen, and you'll wake up fine. And after that, I've never had a hangover after that. So got rid of all that stuff and had a good time. So, but that was a long time ago. I haven't drank in forever. And you still, I mean, how long did you smoke? Did you quit smoking pretty quick after the Navy, or did you smoke for a while, or do you still smoke?
Oh no, I smoked for off and on, not real serious. And then I met my wife, and I was in Utah, and I was staying at her hotel, and she had been at that same hotel for 13 years, and they had changed brand 4 times, and she had done everything there, right? Like she was sales, front desk, a chef, and then when I met her, she was running the restaurant and the lead waitress. And so, you know, kind of like me, she was busy all the time and multi-talented and had done a ton of stuff, and it was just pure and instant attraction. And but funny story, let me tell you, she wanted to join the Navy. She was going to be in the Navy. That's what she wanted to do. And the only reason that she didn't is because her mom wouldn't sign the paperwork when she was 17. And I'll tell you, boys, I turned 21 at boot camp. She wanted to be stationed in San Diego. If she had joined, there's a pretty darn good chance we would have met, and you know, we would have started our adventure back then. But thank God that we didn't, because you know, it gave me more time to prepare for meeting her. So I would do something like I got to tell you, when I met the kids' dad, first thing I told him was like, bro, like I've messed up everything else in my life. And, you know, if I gotten married real young and starting spitting out kids right away, there's a pretty good chance that the same thing would have happened to me. So, you know, like I get it. And all I want to do is just be a good, strong role model in their life. But anyways, I digress and I get lost of where I was going. But
be that example, man. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Well, Chris, we're going to have to. Jay's got to go to work tomorrow. So, hey, I want to say thanks, one, for being on here. It's so good to see you, talk to you. Your voice is exactly like I thought it was. I was texting you the other day. I can hear you talking, and it's exactly there. So, it's kind of cool that I can remember that. You know, like. But we got more to talk about. We'll get you back on next time. Won't be so mushy.
Yes, let's do it. And I mean, I've got 3 routers here. I'm sorry, my internet connection is poor, but maybe I can speed it up for our next meeting.
Yeah.
So that way we can have maybe something that's a little bit more workable for you guys instead of everybody having to wait an extra 5 seconds to hear what's going to happen next.
Well, it worked out because if we'd have done the live tonight, then this would have been kind of a mess up. So now we're good. So, but
yeah, I'm just glad to see you again.
Hey, and if you guys want to do a redo of this, like, good with me. I'm available. I'm my interview got rescheduled for next Tuesday at noon. I worked for 18 hours on Tuesday, and then I worked for 12 hours yesterday. It would have been more, but I had to crash out for 3 hours in the middle of it because I just couldn't keep going. But I've got a 17-page PowerPoint presentation prepared and 24 pages of like single line, narrow notes on WordPerfect, and unbelievably cool. But you've been using Chat GPT to help me prepare, and what it's really allowing, dude, it's so cool, you guys. What it's allowing me to do is like in amount of work in a short period of time, so that like, man, it's like creating Venn diagrams for me and charts and graphs and like, I mean, just all sorts of cool stuff. So I've got a really big presentation put together and super excited about it. And it could be a really, really big opportunity that could have a dramatic effect on changing people's lives.
I hope so, man.
So to be.
Yeah.
Well, my thoughts are with you, bro. I'll be praying for you when it comes to the interview.
Man, let's do this again, like really soon, because oh man, I miss you guys and I love you so much, you know, and you mean the world to me, and you know, being able to be here and be a part of this and get so super mushy just really makes my day.
See, I like mushy. Care. Who cares?
Screw Norm.
Yeah. I beat him once in arm wrestling.
Hey,
I think.
Man, it was good. It was so good to see you, man. I'm looking forward
come on,
to it.
Bruce. I needed a little chance to.
And
We'll get you on again, brother.
ladies and gentlemen, Christopher Scott
Yes,
Dale.
let's do it again soon.
All right, Chris. Take care,
See you,
brother.
bud.
4 level up.
Yeah, smoking lamps out. Okay, see you, buddy.
See ya.
The smoking lamp is out.